exposed fracking. Show the tape. Put it on your website. Put it on the website.
Live from Clark Studios in Rochester, New York. Broadcasting around the world. You're listening to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
Well, good morning, America. Welcome to another episode of You Made It Political. We have an epic show ahead of us today. The very, very good news amongst all the chaos in the country. And believe me, as you all know, we deal with a ton of chaos every single day. I mean, since Joe Biden and the Democrats took control of pretty much everything on planet Earth, it has been one catastrophic blow after blow to America and the American people. The good news, however, is that the Republican Party and the GOPs are finally starting to fight back. And they're not just starting to fight back with words, because we all know how the Republican Party is. We like to talk a lot of shit and really don't follow up ever. Well, the tide's starting to turn, and we're seeing more GOP party members start to fight back with filing articles of impeachment towards Joe Biden. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore. It's all of them, or at least many of them. We'll also talk about how Dr. Fauci keeps flip-flopping and how he now is going head-to-head with the FDA. It's always nice when we see the FDA disagree with Fauci and put things into perspective, because somebody has to. We know the Democrats are not going to. We know we need, regardless of whether we trust the FDA or not right now, the point is that Dr. Fauci and the FDA aren't seeing eye to eye, and Fauci continues to flip-flop. We'll also discuss the California liberal insanity and how brainwashed these children really are over there. It's disgusting. It's like out of freaking control. And God help our children, because they are seriously a lost cause over in California. And if we're not careful, the same thing's going to happen in New York State. No wonder people are fleeing these two very far left liberal states at mass record. We'll also deal with the fact that the border crisis is now at a 21-year record high. Let's get into the show. So, we all know Joe Biden has been absolutely disastrous for America. We know that. It's just been one catastrophic blow after the other. The good news, however, is that, listen, we know he's not capable. Okay, we know Biden's not capable of being commander-in-chief. The good news is that more GOP reps, not just Marjorie Taylor Greene, but more GOP reps are now introducing articles of impeachment against Biden. And it's about time. It's about time. I mean, we know this guy's got to go. We know Kamala Harris isn't going to be any better. I get that. But just like New York State getting rid of Cuomo, yes, we got Hochul. Hochul's no better. But when you start to plant seeds of doubt in the Democratic Party, they slowly start to think, you know what? I don't know if I'm on board with this nonsense anymore. And we saw it with Trump in the 2020 or the 2016 election. What happened? The Democrats did a very good job of planting seeds of doubt in the Republican Party, which is how we basically fractured the GOP. The rhinos then took the side of the moderate Democrats, and we lost the 2016 election. Yes, I know, combined with a little bit of election fraud and a few other factors, it nevertheless, or regardless, it destroyed our chances of winning 2020. So here we are. Now the same thing's kind of happening, but towards the Democrats. We're planting seeds of doubt. And that's what we need to do in order to take them down, take them out, both at the White House, the Senate, and the House. And if you don't start to plant these seeds of doubt now, we're not going to be able to get the job done come 2022 and eventually 2024. So you might look at this headline and think, yeah, right, it's never going to happen. But here's the thing. It's not just about trying to actually impeach Joe Biden. That's not why these representatives are coming forward with articles of impeachment. I mean, yes, ultimately we'd like to get rid of Joe Biden, but we all know it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen because there's too many liberal crazies who are going to defend Biden. We're outnumbered. The articles of impeachment are never going to get voted on when it comes down to it. Democrats are going to vote to keep the village idiot in. We're going to be outnumbered as Republicans, and we're going to lose. Okay, so we know that. However, what this does is it starts to plant seeds of doubt amongst Democrat voters. It starts to really force themselves to question whether they want to continue to go down the direction that we're headed here in America. And what it also does, it forces Biden to think twice about the disastrous decisions that he and the Democrats are making. Because, listen, it might just be a far-fetched, very unrealistic, ambitious goal today. But the more Democrats start to realize that what Joe Biden is doing is wrong, the more they might actually go from, you know what, there's no way I would never vote to impeach the president in my party to, hold on a second, we might have to consider this here because I didn't sign up for this. And again, it's no different than what the Democrats did to Trump. And it even got Republicans, a few Republican rhinos, to actually vote to move, not only move forward with the impeachment, but to actually impeach or actually vote for impeachment. Okay, so the same thing's now happening. And this is what it takes. Listen, at the end of the day, politics is a mind game. It's just a mind game. It's a game of strategy to see who could outnumber or outdo the other party one political stunt at a time, until collectively all of these stunts are so massive and so one-sided that it's just a matter of time before you finally get past that tipping point of going from impeachment being just an idea to it actually happening. So it's good to see that the GOP party or the members are saying, you know what, we're going to jump on board with this. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore. So who else is actually going up against or actually filing articles of impeachment? Well, we all know Marjorie Taylor Greene did it a few weeks ago after the Afghan evacuation. So first of all, why are they filing articles to impeach Joe Biden? What's the point here? Why are they doing it? Well, Representative Bob Gibbs, Republican of Ohio, introduced 3 articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden on Tuesday, citing his handling of Afghanistan. So that's the first issue. We got Afghanistan, which we know he totally botched. Afghanistan, immigration, and now the defunct federal eviction moratorium. So there's no disputing whatsoever that Biden is destroying America. He's done it by undoing every one of President Trump's America First EOs. It started when he destroyed the Keystone Pipeline situation, and just 75,000 jobs wiped out on day one of his presidency, all with a stroke of a pen. It then led into immigration getting out of control. I think they estimated that something like 2.5 million immigrants have now stormed the border, that are now in the U.S. Not just stormed the border, that have been caught and released into the United States of America. So 2.5 million illegal immigrants, in addition to the probably 20 million illegal immigrants that we already have over the last 20 years or so. So we've got Afghan evacuation, we got the immigration crisis, and we now have the eviction moratorium. The Republicans have had enough. They've had enough, and they're saying, you know what, Joe, we are going after you now. We can't let this slide anymore. We're filing 3 articles of impeachment. Okay, not just 1, but 3 articles of impeachment. So they're laying it on thick here. Even if 1 goes anywhere, that's good enough. Again, the objective here isn't necessarily to throw Joe out of the White House, because trust me, I don't think any Republican wants that. Nobody wants to deal with cackling Kamala right now. But it's not just to throw him out of the White House, it's to start to get the moderate Democrats to think twice about following Joe down this yellow brick road of absolute liberal insanity. And then slowly we might start to get them to say, you know what? I'm not voting for him in 2024. I'm going Republican again. This is too much now. So Gibbs said, listen, I take this seriously. I don't think it's haphazard. I'm not trying to get media attention for myself. See, we're way beyond media attention right now. We are past showboating. We're past trying to put on a spectacle. We're just straight to, listen, we really need to get this guy out now. He's doing too much harm. This isn't for my political gain or my political career. This is for the American people. So Gibbs is pissed. Republican Ohio. He's now filing 3 articles of impeachment. He said he's done so much damage to this country in less than 9 months, which is really scary. And that's the deal. I mean, if you guys think about it, it's only been 9 months since Joe took office, and look at everything that he's done. I mean, the kid, it's as a parent of a kid who's now in school, and already I'm seeing what's happening firsthand in these public school systems. And we know it's been going on, but I now get to see it. I've been reporting on it. I've looked at it from an outsider, but now I'm inside as a parent. And only 1 week in, schools are shutting down across Democrat states. Why? Because the teachers' unions are forcing them, because the Democrats and the Biden administration have their agenda with vaccines. We know it's mask for vax when push comes to shove. So they're trying to scare everybody all over again. And that's what the Democrats have done. It's been between the fear-mongering that's destroying America, illegal immigration, the eviction moratorium, screwing the real estate market, and pretty much destroying the lives of these tenants, combined with the Afghan eviction or the evacuation or the botched Afghan evacuation. It's just been one disaster after the next. And it's only been 9 months. 9 months. So when I sit here and I do my show every day and I'm like, this guy's a freaking idiot, it's not because I'm trying to get clicks and views. It's because I really mean it. This guy's an idiot and he's destroying America. And I don't care what party you're affiliated with. If you don't agree with me on the fact that Joe Biden is destroying America, then you are more socialist. You are more radical than you think. Because there's no two ways about the fact that anybody with common sense knows that Joe Biden is destroying this country. I mean, look at Meghan McCain. If you've been following the Meghan McCain situation, Meghan McCain and Joe Biden were buddy-buddy. Yeah, she's a Republican, but she's still buddied up to Joe Biden. Well, not anymore. She said, listen, I'm done. I'm done with this guy. Like this, I don't even recognize this man anymore. You have Joe Manchin, Democrat, who is going up against this new $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. And the Democrats and the liberals are losing their absolute minds over it, thinking, how dare you go against the party? Well, listen, it's getting so far left right now that people like Joe Manchin has to say, no, I'm not for this. Guys, we have spent enough. We are driving this country into the ground. Inflation's through the roof. We're broke. The national debt is at $28 trillion. And they have the audacity to want to raise the debt ceiling once again, which economists have warned time and time again that if they do this, we are going to send this country into the Great Depression of our lifetime. Joe Biden, and I showed on the show yesterday, even said it himself. We're going to send this country into the next recession. And I'm like, yeah, Joe, but you're the one doing it. You're the one making all of these mistakes. If you're just joining us right now on the show, we're talking about the fact that Biden is no longer capable of being commander-in-chief. And more GOP reps are now jumping on board with introducing articles of impeachment against Biden. And although you may sit here and think it's never going to happen, again, that's not the point. We're trying to plant seeds of doubt in the Democrat camp for them to say, you know what? I'm not going to vote to impeach him, but I'm definitely not voting for him again. And hopefully that starts to swing the pendulum back towards the Republican Party and really highlight what a disaster this man has been over the last 9 months. I mean, I can't believe it. I can't believe how insane it is that it's only been 9 months. So Janice asked, do we really think this is going to work? It feels almost impossible to do anything right with this administration in power. I'm tired of fighting everything, trying to uphold what this country was founded on, the Constitution. This administration doesn't even abide by it. It's just really tiring. And Janice, I can't sympathize with you enough. Yes, it's tiring. It's disastrous. I mean, it's horrible. I used to get really upset about the situation. I used to come on here and be like, oh, F the Democrats, F Joe Biden, F you who voted for him. But you know what? We're past that now. We need to stop getting emotional, and we need to start getting logical. Okay? The shock and awe of what just took over this country is over for me. Okay? I'm not going to sit up here and scream and yell at everybody anymore, because it's getting us nowhere. We've protested. We've rallied. We've gone to Board of Education meetings. I mean, there's so much that we have done that hasn't worked. So screaming and yelling at people obviously is not doing anybody any favors. And it's because we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered at a national level, and we're also outnumbered here in New York State. I mean, it's a Democrat-run state. Look at California. I mean, California is a freaking lost cause. You may as well have kicked that state right out and let it drift into the ocean, and maybe meet up with Hawaii, or go as far as China for all I care. I mean, let's be honest. That state is so far gone. New York's next. New York's next because we're outnumbered. And I'd love to sit here and say, hey, we got to keep fighting. We're going to change the tide. We're going to turn around if we just keep fighting. Unfortunately, I can't even try to convince anybody anymore that fighting's the answer, because it's not the answer. The only thing that's ever going to change or turn states like California and New York around is if we vote for Republican legislation. If we even voting in a Republican governor isn't going to do anything. I mean, let's say Zeldin does win the gubernatorial race next year in November. It doesn't mean that he's going to be a lame duck governor, because we're outnumbered right now by the legislation being democratically run, and our Senate and House. It's all Democrat. New York is a Democrat powerhouse. So is California. So when they say it starts at a local level, I mean, they ain't kidding. It couldn't be any more true. So what you need to do is really start to look at who your local representatives are, or who's running locally, and not just in New York and California, but across the entire country. And really start to think, okay, how do we start to swing this, or at least stop my state from going as far as California liberal? And that is by getting Republican or conservative type legislators in power, voting for New York State Republican Democrats and House members. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it, because we can go and scream and yell at the Board of Education all we want. All they're going to do is sit there, look at you like a deer in headlights and say, our hands are tied. You want the masks off these kids? You're talking to the wrong people. You're screaming at the wrong people. We can vote to take the masks off, but it doesn't mean the Department of Health are going to say, that's not your right. So the whole thing here is a matter of really making sure that if you want to keep a state red, first of all, blue states aren't the only ones who are trying to work on here. If you're down in Florida, or if you're in Texas, I don't know where everybody's coming in watching the show from, but your state's not safe either. You need to make sure that you keep people like Abbott and DeSantis in control, because I'll tell you right now, I did a show on this the other day, and 6 out of 10 Floridians, according to a Rasmussen poll as of like mid-August, actually don't like how DeSantis is handling the pandemic. And that is very worrying to me. Very, very worrying to me. And I know a lot of you don't think these polls mean anything, but listen, take them with a grain of salt. But you do have to pay attention, because they might not mean much right now this second, but let's say that ticks up to 7 out of 10 Floridians not in favor of how DeSantis is handling the pandemic, or 8 out of 10. Well, fine. Factor in a margin of error there, you're still losing the fight. So although Florida might have a Republican freedom-thinking governor, the people might be changing. And you got to look at these. You got to pay attention to these polls, whether you believe them or not. You still need to pay attention. So Janice, I'm 100% on board with the fact that I don't think it's going to work. I don't think the GOP members are actually going to vote to impeach Biden. But just the fact that we're throwing articles at him is, like I said many times, already planting seeds of doubt in the Democrat camp. And that's all it takes sometime to start to get these people to think, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And then before you know it, we start to take back control of the House and the Senate in 2022. And who knows, maybe even the presidency in 2024. Jennifer says, sadly, the two-faced Mitch won't do anything with those papers. He is scared. He is a scared weenie. I don't know about that. I think Mitch McConnell is, listen, as much of a rhino as Mitch McConnell may be at times, I do think he wants to see America succeed. And I do think Mitch will actually do something with those papers. I do. If Mitch doesn't do anything with these articles of impeachment that Gibbs is filing against Biden, I think that's the end of Mitch McConnell. I mean, this guy is hanging on by a freaking thread. I have no idea how he's even going to win Kentucky next year, but I don't think he's going to just do nothing with these papers. Dennis says, no, we don't want Harris to step in. He is bad enough, but she would be so much worse. Again, you know, Dennis, what this does is it fractures the Democrat Party. Listen, if we actually got Biden impeached, I mean, I really do think that would be the end of the Democrat Party for a few years. I don't think there's any way they would keep the House and the Senate in 2022. I think it would finally start to wake up all of our liberal friends. I do. I think it would finally, you know, because trying to convince our Democrat friends right now, trying to convince our liberal friends is like trying to talk to a deer in headlights. They just stare at you. You know, you can't really reason with many of them with logic, at least. If you want to start getting all irrational and emotional, well, now you're talking their language. But logic doesn't seem to get through to Democrats and liberals right now, at least the far left ones. So if Biden were to actually get impeached, if we were actually able to pull it off, I think that would kind of be the smack in the face that they need to come out of whatever far left progressive trance they've been in leading up to the 2020 election and as you know, and right now. So I think although we don't want Harrison, it would definitely fracture the Democratic Party and it'd make them think twice about, you know, how they vote moving forward. So we'll see what happens. It's wishful thinking at this point. He's not capable of being commander-in-chief, and that's obvious by the actions since day one when he took presidency back in January. Gibbs said maybe something like this makes the White House think twice before they do some of this nonsense. So Gibbs introduced articles also with Representatives Andy Biggs, Republican of Arizona, Brian Babin, Republican of Texas, and Randy Weber, Republican of Texas, joining as co-sponsors. So we're not just talking one person here. It's not just Marjorie Taylor on her own anymore. We've got 4 more GOP members: Biggs, Brian Babin, Randy Weber of Texas, and also joining as co-sponsors. So Gibbs said that the congressmen began work on the resolution before the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan, erupted. So they've been working on these articles of impeachment before the whole botched Afghanistan evacuation last month. They've been focusing on Biden's handling of the border and the federal eviction moratorium. I'd like to see some power hitters. I'd like to see Ted Cruz join the articles of impeachment bandwagon. I'd like to see Jim Jordan out there, maybe Josh Hawley. I'd like to see a lot of them start to step up now and support these articles of impeachment. Because, listen, it wasn't enough when Marjorie Taylor on her own filed for articles, because we all know Marjorie Taylor, as much as I love her, I mean, she's great. Matt Gaetz, which, by the way, have you guys noticed, I haven't really seen or heard much of Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor as far as their America First tour is concerned. I'm not sure if Donald Trump has now dominated the headlines and overshadowed that whole tour since he's come back on and started to run rallies again, which, by the way, George is up next. And you can catch all those rallies on Right Side Broadcasting Network records all those or brings them to you live. But it was Marjorie Taylor on her own at first. And we all know Marjorie Taylor doesn't have the full blessing of the entire GOP, which is sad because you look at how batshit crazy AOC is. She's got the full support of her entire party. And not to go off on a tangent here, but this is where we go wrong. This is where we go very wrong as a party. The Democrats stick together always. I mean, they have been sticking together as far back as Bill Clinton here. When Bill Clinton was impeached for the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal, not a single Democrat actually voted to impeach Bill Clinton. I mean, he admitted after he denied it and got caught, but he admitted that he had oral sex with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. And not a single Democrat moved to impeach him. I mean, these guys stick together like freaking Ryan, or whatever the saying is, but they stick together here. And no matter what. And that's where we've gone wrong as a party. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene came out to move to impeach Biden, it didn't go anywhere. Why didn't it go anywhere? Well, because we don't work together and stick together like the Democrats do, no matter what the situation is. Like flies on rice. That's what it was. So within the last week, the border crisis has received renewed attention as thousands of illegal immigrants or migrants flood into the U.S. near the Texas town of Del Rio. Federal agents are holding thousands of migrants in a makeshift pen underneath an overpass with little supplies or shelter, risking a humanitarian crisis. 26 Republicans co-signed a letter to the White House on Monday calling for Biden to crack down on illegal immigration and end the national security crisis created by 8 months of unenforced borders. We'll get back into the border in just a minute. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about how Dr. Flip-Flop Fauci doesn't know whether to follow the science or the money anymore, and how him and the FDA have come head-to-head now on booster shots. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You Made It Political would not have been possible without this book right here, Expert Secrets by my man, Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson wrote this book to help people like you and I become leaders in our space, to gain an audience and a public following that respects, loves, and watches our shows on a daily basis. Expert Secrets will help you find your voice and give you the confidence to become a leader. It'll show you how to build a mass movement of people whose lives you can affect. And most importantly, it'll teach you how to become an expert authority in your field where people actually pay you for your advice. The best part about Expert Secrets is it's absolutely free. You just pay for shipping, whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a podcaster, or a live YouTube streamer. You want to grab a copy of this book. It'll teach you everything from building your audience to driving traffic to making this a full-time job so you can get paid for your passion.
Welcome back to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard, and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
Welcome back to the show, guys. If you're just joining me right now, we spent the first segment going through how it's only been 9 months since Biden took control of America and ran it into the absolute ground. And now 3 articles, not 1, but 3 articles of impeachment are now being filed against Joe Biden by a Gibbs, Republican of Ohio, and has 3 other members co-signing those articles of impeachment. First of all, just a quick shout out to everybody who's joined and made comments on the show so far. Thank you guys so much. Diana Barnfield, thank you for joining the show. Diana, great comment. My son goes to school in New York, took a semester off, but he and I fought for 2 months till he realized he was being a follower. It is so hard and sad our kids are being brainwashed. You're absolutely right. It's very, what's worse than seeing what's happening here in New York State and states like California is the fact that our kids are being brainwashed. They're actually being, they're actually buying in to the narrative. They don't see it. Well, listen, it's up to us as parents to make sure that we educate our kids at home, okay? That we make, that we kind of tell them that what's going on isn't right here. And that's all we can do right now, okay? I think that's all we can do. We have to make sure that we continue to tell them that what's happening in the schools right now is not normal. It's not normal, and hopefully eventually they'll grow out of it and see the truth. All right, so Fauci, Dr. Flip-Flop is at it again. Jack Tapper even presses Fauci on booster-approved flip-flopping, okay? So Fauci's a flip-flopper, we know that. This guy has no idea whether to follow the science or the money ever. All right. And we now have an issue as far as the booster situation is concerned. Now, this all started about maybe a month ago. Do you guys remember when Biden came out and said, we're now doing boosters? Okay. We're doing boosters and you need boosters after your X amount of months or whatever it is. After you've gotten jabbed 50 times, you now need 30,000 boosters. And America was like, really? I mean, what's going on here? I thought the vaccine was good enough. And Fauci's like, no, we need boosters. Well, the FDA has no idea why Biden said that. And I think even Fauci was scrambling to keep up with the nonsense that the Biden administration was dishing out to the American people. Because even Fauci was like, wait a second, the boosters have not been approved. We don't have enough data yet. And Fauci himself even said, I don't think we need boosters. Well, Biden didn't like that. So Biden was like, Dr. Fauci, you're not supposed to think for yourself. Remember, you're my little bitch. And you're supposed to do what we tell you to do. So Fauci went back and forth again. The FDA put their foot down and was like, nope, we don't need boosters, people. We do not need boosters, okay? Maybe we need them for age 65 and above. So what's going on here? So Jack Tapper, I always love when we see, CNN start to give Biden a hard time or Fauci a hard time. It's like finally CNN's going to play a little bit of real journalism instead of propaganda machine. CNN's Jack Tapper even pressed Anthony Fauci on Sunday for appearing to take two different positions. Okay, so Fauci we know is a flopper. He's taking two different positions here regarding the FDA panel's discussion to reject offering a COVID-19 booster shot. So last week, Fauci told KHN he thought it would be a mistake. Okay, so last week, Fauci tells KHN he thought it would be a mistake if the panel decided there wasn't enough data. Even though Fauci a couple weeks ago said there's not enough data and he wasn't convinced that we need boosters. So now he's telling KHN, hold on, I think it'll be a mistake if the panel decided there wasn't enough data. Then he changed his tune after the advisory committee voted 16-2. Guys, this isn't just a little, we're kind of split half and half here. The FDA committee voted 16-2 against giving COVID-19 booster shots to the general public. This is how against the FDA is right now for giving booster shots to the general public. This is how much they disagree that they're needed. They're not needed. They voted 16-2. The panel did, however, embrace a plan to give individuals 65 and older another high-risk Americans and other high-risk Americans. So they did say, listen, 65 and older and other high-risk Americans should get a third shot. On Wednesday, you said so this is Jack Tapper now grilling Fauci. On Wednesday, you said in an interview, quote, if they say we don't think there's enough data to do a booster, then so be it. I think that would be a mistake, to be honest with you. So on Wednesday, you said it would be a mistake, but now you're saying you don't think it would be a mistake. Fauci argued, and this is Jack Taper grilling Fauci. Fauci argued his previous comments were his personal opinion after reviewing the data, but insisted he has no problem with the panel's decision. So here's now Fauci backtracking. He says, no, I mean, what I was saying, that mistake, my own personal looking at this again, just because I look at the data and say I would do it this way, that's the reason why we have qualified groups of people who together as a committee examine all the data and make a decision. So I have no problem at all with their decision. The thing that I'm saying is that the data will continue to come in, and I believe you're going to see... I mean, you guys, you don't even know what I'm saying right now. I mean, I might as well be speaking Chinese. That's Fauci flip-flopping, okay? I don't even know what the hell this guy's saying. So you're probably trying to keep up with me and understand what's coming out of my mouth right now. And the reason you can't is because Fauci's gone back and forth so many freaking times on this situation. The point is... Here's Fauci's flip-flops. Let me kind of refresh all your memories right now. COVID being a big deal. These are all of Fauci flip-flops. COVID being a big deal. Social distancing. Mask. Flip-flop flipped. Schools reopening. Then telling them they're not allowed reopening. He flip-flopped on T-cell immunity. He flip-flopped on Biden admin starting from scratch on vaccines. He flip-flopped on his wearing a mask as theater. He flip-flopped on COVID origins only after he got busted being a funder of gain-of-function research. And he flip-flops now on COVID booster shots. So Fauci has a list of flip-flops a mile long. So are you surprised right now that he's now giving the FDA a hard time, who, by the way, voted 16-2 that boosters are not needed? 16-2. Again, this isn't like they're split 8-8 here, or 20 or 10-10 here. 16-2 or 9-9, whatever the number is. Okay. The point is that most of the committee that sits on the FDA right now is dead set against boosters, unless of course you're 65 or older or you're high risk. Then you need a third shot. So Fauci, again, flip-flopping. I mean, listen, Fauci is like a senator. Okay, he has no expertise. I mean, these senators have no expertise in anything. They're just elected by the people. Even though Fauci was hired and not elected, he still acts like a senator. No experience, no expertise. He has no beliefs, thoughts, or opinions. Fauci has only positions which change as he needs them to. I mean, he's acting like a politician right now. He flip-flops according to whether he believes in the science or whether he wants to follow the money. And this is what he continues to do on a daily basis. Mr. Fauci has more blown out flip-flops than Jimmy Buffett, Jeff says, and everyone who ever sang Margaritaville combined. Absolutely true. Virginia says Fauci should resign. What's wrong with these people? They commit grievous mistakes and they don't resign. The arrogance of power. Start with Biden, Kamala, Milley, Fauci, Blinken, Austin, Swalwell, and the list goes on and on. That's a good point, and I want to touch on this real quick. Why do these people get away with this? Why do they continue to get away with literally murder? Okay. Why do they get away with a botched evacuation out of Afghanistan? Why do they get away with the illegal border crisis? Why do they get away with locking down our businesses, kicking our kids out of school for not wearing a mask? And why do they get away with with allowing people not pay rent and ruining the lives of these tenants? Why do they get away with any of this? Why does Swalwell get away? I mean, people have been convicted or charged, or at least off the record, found semi-guilty of treasonous. I mean, look at Milley. Look what happened with Milley just a few weeks ago. Milley warns China. It's very treasonous act. Goes behind President Trump's back. It's crickets. Absolute crickets. Every single one of these people. Biden, Kamala hasn't done it. She's supposedly in charge of the border crisis right now. I mean, we haven't heard from Kamala Harris ever about the border crisis. Joe Biden has not once been to the border. Not just now, but in his entire career. Ducey just called him out at a Psaki briefing a couple days ago and said, hey, has Joe Biden ever been to the border? Not just now during this presidency, but has he been to the border ever in his 47 career? Jen Psaki said, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Peter Ducey said, actually, I know that answer. The answer is no. He's never been to the border, southern border, at all, like ever in his 47-year career. And now we have a 21-year record raging border crisis, and Joe's still not down there. So, I don't know. I don't know why these guys never get called up on their wrongdoings. I don't know why they're never convicted or charged of anything. It goes back to what I said a minute ago, and the fact that it's because we have the wrong people elected, or we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered. We don't have the votes to convict any of these people moving forward. Speaking of outnumbered, now this is insane here. This is like blows my mind right now. We all know California is so far gone. I mean, these people are freaking crazy. Okay, we know, look it, they just kept Newsom in. I mean, I don't know a single person who actually likes Newsom. I really don't. But then again, I don't hang out or talk to far left radicals that much. But listen, not only did he win this recall, but it was like 70-30. I mean, Larry Elder only had 30% of the yes vote. It was like no by 70% voted no to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. But it's not just the adults who have completely gone off the deep end, who have completely lost the rocker. It's school kids. They have brainwashed these kids in California so badly. This state, as far as our lifetime concerned, is so doomed. Like, at this point, just leave. Because they already brainwashed the next generation. So forget the fact that the adults are a lost cause. Look what the Democrats are doing to the kids. Here's a picture of school kids, according to dailywire.com. School kids are giving an energized Newsom rock star treatment after recall attempt fails. Hovering around Gavin Newsom, asking for his autograph. Masked up, by the way. Masked and jabbed with a big thank you, Daddy Newsom, asking for autographs is probably the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in my political career. This is just ridiculous that people are swarming Newsom like this. So here they are, swarming Governor Newsom, praising this man for locking them down, masking them up, jabbing them up, pretty much arresting them if they defy any of King Newsom's orders. And you'd think it'd be met with disappointment and God damn it, how did we lose this? Nope, it's not met by any of that. It's met with rock star praise, autographs. So California's screwed. If you live in California, including half my family, you guys got to leave. I mean, it's done. Go south, get out of there, go down. You might as well join us over here on the East Coast because your state, or go to Arizona. I hear a lot of people are fleeing to Arizona. I don't know if Arizona is going to stay red. It's on the cusp of potentially turning blue. I think they've gotten to Arizona, just like we've gotten to states like North Carolina. I'm hoping we can kind of fend off the liberal crazies down south. Ben Shapiro was just kind of talking about how much he loves living in Florida the other day. And Floridians were actually getting mad at him for that. They're like, dude, can you stop promoting Florida? We don't want any more crazies down here. We don't want people from the north bringing their radical ideologies down to Florida or Tennessee. I mean, Ben Shapiro was so disgusted with California that he moved his entire company down to Tennessee. He actually lives in Florida, in Boca, but the entire Daily Wire company was moved to Tennessee from LA. That's how disgusted he was with it. So when you see people like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro moving south to get away from this freaking insanity, it's got to make you wonder. I mean, to uproot your entire 100+ person company down to Tennessee costs a lot of money. I mean, it's easier to just stay in the state that you live in and be complacent. But when you see people like Ben Shapiro do it, granted, he has the money to pull off a stunt like that, it does make you wonder. I mean, we're only 1 week in to the school year, and already New York schools are getting shut down. And parents are starting to really, really lose their patience in these Democrat states. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do see another mass exodus. My wife and I yesterday said, you know what? I don't know if I'll give it 1 more year, because our kid is in pre-K. I'll give it to the end of the year. And if I don't see this nonsense completely disappear, and I'm talking about coronavirus right now. Yes, I know we have critical race theory. We have a lot of other issues in Democrat states right now, but I'm referring solely to coronavirus. If this nonsense doesn't end by spring, I think we're done. I think we're done. I think we're gone. I think we have got to move south. By the way, any recommendations in South Carolina? We're looking at Greenville. We have our eye on Greenville, so I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm not convinced we're Florida people. I think we're more South Carolina people. So I think we're going to have to take a very serious look down south. So California's far gone. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I'm going to show you guys a video on what's going on down in California. This is just absolutely disgusting what we're seeing here. We are seeing kids swarm Governor Newsom, praising him for locking them down and masking them up. We'll play this video for you guys right now. Let's take a look. Do you see how ridiculous this is? This is insane. How are these kids? I mean, this is a product of liberal illness. I mean, this is an illness here. The fact that these kids are swarming Governor Newsom like this is just ridiculous. It's unbelievable to me to think that they have the kids this brainwashed. So New York, be careful. If you want to know just how brainwashed your kids are about to get, California is going to give you a good idea of exactly how ridiculous the situation is over there. I mean, these kids swarming Newsom, trying to get his autograph after he has bankrupted the state, after he has implemented the most tyrannical orders of every single state in America. I mean, look, we just gave California 5,400 Afghan refugees. The most refugees out of any state in the country are going to California. So California's a lost cause. It's not even worth discussing anymore. It's just, it's insane to me that these kids are this brainwashed, and it's going to happen before we know it in states like New York. So back to the articles of impeachment that we opened the show with. Immigration is clearly one of the reasons that articles of impeachment have been filed, in addition to the Afghan evacuation and the eviction moratorium. Gibbs, Republican from Ohio, has filed articles of impeachment, and 3 co-sponsors, 2 from Texas, I believe 1 from Arizona. I have to go back and check. But 3 co-sponsors on 3 articles, not 1, but 3 articles of impeachment. So Biden's America, the border crossings hit a new 21-year high. It's a 21-year high border crossings hit. as the crisis spirals further out of control. We talk a lot about this on the show. This is one of the reasons that Republican GOP members have had enough, and they are filing articles of impeachment. Biden's America, border crossings hit a new 21-year record. Guys, Biden does not want to admit there's a crisis, okay? I don't even know if Biden knows there's a crisis at this point. I don't know if Biden's even with it cognitively anymore. We know that he continues to decline. His mental health is in tatters. I don't think he even knows there's a border crisis. And even if he did know there was a border crisis, he would never admit it in a million years, because he's just an arrogant and ignorant prick. I mean, that is, if you want to know the definition of Joe Biden, is ignorant, arrogant prick, because that really sums up his 47 years political career here. So I don't think he'd admit it in a million years. And listen, Democrats, regardless of whether you want to admit it or not, there's a raging border crisis. 21-year record. So it's not an opinion anymore. It's not my opinion anymore. It's fact. There is a raging border crisis. It's that simple. It's that simple. 2.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border. The southern border crossings have hit a new 21-year record by reaching 1 million in 2021. The report says that 212,672 migrants came in July alone. Nearly a quarter of a million migrants came in July. That's a 13% rise from June. I mean, as if we didn't have enough problems in America right now. Biden's border crisis, 21-year record high, 13% rise from June. 212,672 migrants came in just July alone. It's a disaster down there. Donald Trump's former acting CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan said, those pictures that we showed you under the bridge, referring to Texas, a couple thousand migrants, those facilities that we showed you of illegal aliens, basically, stacked on top of each other, laying on top of each other, crowded and dangerously overcrowded positions. I'm actually having sources report to me right now that they have been directed to clear out the illegal aliens under that bridge and start transporting illegal aliens out of those overcrowded facilities, Morgan said. And why? In anticipation of Secretary Mayorkas visiting down there. See, they're clearing out the bridge right now, not because they're doing the right thing. They're clearing them out because Alejandro Mayorkas, who was selected by Biden to serve as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, made the announcement. Mayorkas said, allow me to share with you the CBP enforcement numbers for July. 212,000 persons were encountered attempting entry. So he's going to go down there now. He knows that it's such a disaster. He's going to go down there now. And what are they doing? They're clearing out the entire bridge to put on a show for you all. Just when Kamala Harris went down, they cleared it out. They moved people from these cages and they put on a show. Are you surprised? This is what the Democrats do. They like to put on their show. New figures are at a 21-year month high for encounters in nears Biden toward the 1 million mark. So since Biden took over, 1 million more people have come in illegally. The million mark, as the encounter content hits 934,257 when counting the data between February and July. So just July. Just between February and July, 1 million illegal migrants have come in to the border. So we have a very, it's very serious now. It's a very serious crisis. It's one of the reasons that Republican from Ohio, Gibbs, have filed 3 articles of impeachment citing illegal immigration and the out-of-control border crisis that we have being one of the reasons, or one of the articles of impeachment. What do the American people have to say about the raging border crisis that the Democrats refuse to believe? Not all Americans are naive to what's going on, only half the country. But a lot of them are furious, disgusted. I mean, you have to remember, guys, these are people's families down there. It's not just the fact that immigrants are coming in illegally or the fact that the drug cartels are now pumping more drugs throughout the United States than ever, but you have to think about the families of these officers who are down there dealing with this crisis. It's very, very dangerous. Leslie says Biden and his incompetent administration own this crisis. Yes, they do. They must all be held accountable to the American citizens. We have a right to know where all the illegal aliens are being dropped off to roam our country freely and unvaccinated. And again, this is why I don't take this vaccination crisis seriously. It's because, they're letting illegal immigrants in unvaccinated. I mean, they're not even being vaccinated. Okay. And when Peter Doocy brought up Psaki on the issue a few days ago, what did Psaki say? She said, well, it's not the same thing, Peter. They're not here for a lengthy time. And I'm like, Jen, are you freaking out of your goddamn mind? What do you mean that's not the same thing? If I come in contact with you even for 10 seconds, it's the same thing. So the Biden administration, Jen Psaki said, quote, verbatim, it's not the same thing because they're not going to be staying here for a lengthy period of time. See, and you wonder why I don't take COVID seriously. You wonder why I think these vaccines are a joke. It's because anyone who travels into the United States right now must be vaccinated. Any foreigner traveling into the United States must be fully vaccinated, or they will not be allowed entry into the United States. However, the 15,000 or the 212,000 in just July, they don't need to be vaccinated. Why? Because they're not intending to stay here a lengthy period of time. First of all, Jen, I want to remind you and the Biden administration, it's not up to you how long they stay here. Okay, you might think they're going to be leaving, but when you catch and release all these people into the United States, as you have over the last few weeks, telling them to wait for their letter, which they should receive in 60 days, to then come for their interview, you are allowing hundreds of thousands of people to be allowed entry into the United States unvaccinated, even though you say they might not be here a lengthy period of time. It doesn't matter. They've already infected millions of Americans. So it makes no sense whatsoever. So the next time any of your friends give you shit about not being vaccinated, I want you to tell them this. Here's your argument, okay? Do you have any idea that the Biden administration just let in nearly 250,000 illegal immigrants who are not vaccinated? And they actually said they don't need to get vaccinated because they don't anticipate them being here for a lengthy period of time. And then ask them how that makes sense. And they won't be able to argue it. They'll look at you like a freaking deer in headlights, just like they do every single time. So let's hope that these articles of impeachment go somewhere. And even if they don't go anywhere, people remember, it's not about actually trying to get Biden out, although that'd be nice. It's really to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of the Democrats and to just make them think twice before they pull their next political BS stunt. Or, even better, to maybe make Democrat voters think twice about voting for Biden in the future. If anything, it raises awareness at how out of control the Democrats are right now and how badly they've destroyed America in just 9 months. Thank you guys so much for joining me here at You Made It Political. We stream live every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Tomorrow, I've got a very special guest on. You're going to want to see the show. His name's Joe from Little Joe's Corner. Check it out tomorrow at 10.
Thanks for listening to You Made It Political with Matt Clark. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show, or leave us a review on iTunes. And if you like our show or want to know more, check out YouMadeItPolitical.com.